Tell you right now. And I tell you this time, I'll tell you again, and you won't hear it. But I'm from Atlantic City, motherfucker. You know what that means? You know what that means, motherfucker? I don't know if you know what that means. That means I'm from Venice Park, like dead motherfucker. And I rode the Venice Park, West Side, Atlantic City bus, in first grade, fucking eighth grade, man. I got, right now, I'll tell you what, my accent ain't no, it ain't that good, man, because I haven't been talking to anybody. Nobody want to listen to me like this. Nobody want to listen to what I had to say. So what the fuck you making fun of me for? I ain't making fun of nobody, man. This motherfucking voice in my head. I like the rhythm of this motherfucking voice. You understand? You understand why I do. I know you understand why I do. Because it's music, es la música, es la música, nene. Es la música muy encantada, es la tambor. And I'm saying it's the drum, man. It's a motherfucking drum. That's in my head too, man. The rhythm's in my head. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, man. I was like Motown, motherfucker. We're at Atlantic City, man. We've been listening to Motown all summer long, right? In the beach, you got your little transistor radio. I mean, that was back in the day, you know. And I was working at Haddon Hall, you know, and I'd sit in the big old window, and we had a side hall where the kitchen help ate and shit, you know, and I'd be in there with Jim Morrison, the big old black man from the South. We'd be smoking menthols and shit, man. I'd be down in the locker room playing tonk. And I was 15 years old, man. I was 15 years old. I love this shit, man. Bill Wilson, he was the head steward, man. He came down and said, Patrick Scared, what are you doing down here? I'm going to tell your mother. You don't play with that. And secretly, they were taking my money. See, man, you know what I remember? I was just remembering today, man. At my bus station, man. A bus station was a center of social activity. And if you lived in Margate or Ventnor, you never got to feel that shit. You were always thought safe and warm and white and all that shit, you know. But we had to come through Venice Park. We had to come through down Ohio Avenue, Mediterranean Avenue. I mean, I wish I could remember the visual shit. I wish I could remember how those women looked back then, porque I didn't realize, I had no idea that they were from all different parts of the Caribbean and shit. Because I was all small-minded, I was all closed off, man. We didn't know. I tried to bring my friends home. I brought some Billy Blake all the way to Venice Park, man. And my mom said, he can't come in. You gotta get him away from here. This was before civil rights. It was like 60, 61. But I went to a Catholic school, and that's the way it was, man. That's the way it was. I mean, I learned a lot, man. I learned a lot. You know, that's my foundation. My foundation is Stanley Barber. Stanley Barber and I were friends from first grade. And we stayed friends, and we stayed in parallel development. We both developed as artists in different ways. And we got together at times during our lives, and, you know, sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't go so well. And I was at fault quite a bit, man. I was going through a lot of shit back in the day in Atlantic City. So I didn't want to say all this stuff. I got caught. I want to call up Cornell West and just say, I don't want to use the N-word, but I want to use the N-word. I want to call myself Comic N-word. Is that okay? Can I do that? Because I want to. But I think it'll help me. I think it'll help my guitar playing. That's what I think. I think it'll help my guitar playing. But anyway, I just was having these reflections, you know, because there's a big anniversary coming up in my life. And it's the anniversary of the day I got the shit kicked out of me in a fucking trailer park on a cold day on the 16th of April, 1996. Snow frozen on the ground. and this motherfucker hit me from behind. I fell down, hit my head on a table leg, and he dragged me into the middle of the little living room in the trailer and started kicking me in the back with his fucking work boots. And thank God he was like 50 something, maybe 60, and he ran out of breath. And that's what happened. I slid against the sofa, and I started talking to him as fast as I could, and asked him why he was doing that, trying to have a conversation with him, and then finally was able to stand up and get the fuck out of there. But it was a close call. It was a real close call. And then what happened was, as a result of him kicking me so many times, I had that, I forget, there's a word for it, a medical word for it. It's when the bottom lobe of your lung collapses. And it's one motherfucker, they had to give me some kind of, the vapor medicine that they give emphysema people, and then I got my lung functioning back, but I developed a series of blood clots in my inguinal area, and I had to be hospitalized. I have a blood clot disorder. I'm thrombophiliac. I clot too quickly and I've kind of got a handle on it. It's hereditary. There's some factor V Leiden thing going on. But anyway, so it's a pivotal date. It's also the date of my fighting Rainey, my little sister Rain. And we always used to have babies. Scorpio, I'm a Scorpio. She's an Aries, and we'd be fighting all the time. Yeah. But I always felt loved by Lorraine too. I always felt she was loyal to me but we would fight like cats and dogs. We'd argue politics. We would argue. Yeah, I remember. And she would her and my brother, they're all right wing, man. I mean, maybe not now. Who knows? So much stuff is happening. There's so much conscious changing, paradigm changing stuff happening in the world. You can't say, well, they're that way, because a lot of people are going to have revelations, and a lot of people are going to. That's what this age of Aquarius is about. That's what we're just in the beginning of it, but it's an age of extremes, and it's an age that has to do with occurrences that aren't so predictable, and it has to do with the feelings of brotherhood for all men. That's the given trait. That's the number one for me. That's what I like about being an Aquarius rising. It's a really problematic rising sign, but it does give me a sense that everybody and I am brothers and sisters, although the family seems quite dysfunctional at this point. So anyway, I just thought I'd come into your homes this evening and talk about my life a little bit and what's been going on. I mean, I haven't, and I intend to do a lot more talking about it, because I'm now fluent in Spanish, and puedo hablar en español como hablo inglés. Well, no tanto, no. I todavía hago muchas equivocaciones. I make a lot of mistakes still, but I'm okay. Estoy bien. Está bien, okay, está bien. So ya yo tengo tres personajes, bro, tres personajes. Sí, tengo eubones. Ok, mi eubones, yo necesito trabajar un poco más y pedir permiso de Dave Chappelle y Cornel West. Tener una discusión con ellos sobre, and I want to talk to Cornel West and Dave Chappelle and ask him for permission, and ask him if it's okay. Is it okay? Is it okay if I use Ebonics and you won't kick my ass? You guys are bigger than Dave Chappelle, you big one. And Cornel, no, and Cornel and I are about the same age, so I think he'd understand. I think he'd see the humor in it anyway, and that's what it's humorous, but I do like the full word. I do like how karmic N-word sounds when you say the full word and you don't just say N-word. And I think it's a good band for, like a punk band or something. But at the same time, I understand. And there's I don't know. There's Achebe, I can't remember. Achebe, Senor Achebe, Mr. Achebe, is a great writer. That's his last name. I actually knew his niece. I met his niece in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. But Achebe, we'll find his name. We'll get his name for the next podcast. But he was I believe, Ghanaian writer. It might have been Nigerian. Okay, one of the two. But he wrote a whole series of books about how how native peoples lose their culture. First come, and the formula seemed to be first come the Bibles, then come the rifles, and that's the way it went. You know, you neutralize the people with the preaching, and then you bring in the guns. If that doesn't work, and all to capture resources and stuff like that. So he was very critical of Joseph Conrad, and Joseph Conrad wrote that story, the N-word and the Narcissus, which is an excellent story. It's like it's in the way that it's written, in its structure, in the way that the language is put together. This guy, Joseph Conrad, wrote in it, published in English, but he spoke 3 languages. You know, that's one of the reasons I wanted to learn Spanish as well as I have, that really dominated. Because I felt, how can I be a writer if I only know one language? I've got to know at least 2, and then maybe a few more as time goes on. But I'm pretty old now. But that's the story of my story, right? That's late in life I come to life. After years of almost killing myself all the time, I finally found a reason to live, and so here I am, and thank God. Okay. Well, I'd like to keep going, but I'm really afraid about how much time it'll take to publish this. So let's just say we're going to have a commercial break right now, and we'll be back in a minute.